Welcome back to all our
Welcome
learners.
back to all our
We hope
learners.
you've enjoyed the
We
last
hope
few
you've enjoyed the
sessions.
last few
In
sessions.
today's session, we're
In
going to
today's
discuss
session,
the
we're going to
evolution
discuss
of
the
the
evolution
education
of
policy.
the education policy.
How is the NEP
How is the
2020
NEP 2020
better or
different
different
from the previous
We're going to
ones?
do a comparison.
We're going to do a comparison. We're going to talk about examples. We're also going to have a quiz at the end of this session, just to get an idea of how much we've learned and what we've
So
understood.
enjoy the session.
So enjoy the session.
We're discussing Week 1, the new education policy and its innovative approach to education. In the following weeks, disruptive innovation plus global trends and emerging models, introduction to design thinking and its relevance to education, aligning design thinking with the NEP framework, empowering students through design thinking, and finally in week 6, design thinking for innovative educational and policy advocacy. What is the agenda for today? The introduction to India's education policy, the National Education Policy 1968, the National Education Policy 1986, the National Education Policy 2020, a comparison of NEP 1986 and NEP 2020, and the impact of NEP 2020 on education. Let us discuss India's evolution in education policy. Independent India required policy initiatives at all levels to promote education, which was imperative for expanding the economy. Education policy consists of plans, rules, and regulations framed by the government related to the educational sector, ensuring uniformity. India's high population presents challenges, as many individuals dream of attending schools but face barriers such as economic problems and poverty, leading to dropouts. Gender disparity in literacy levels is evident, with males often receiving more educational opportunities than females, resulting in a significant gap. The National Employability Report of 2019 indicated that over 80% of engineers were unemployable, highlighting the need for education that focused on both academic knowledge and employability skills. The need for education policy in India. The assessment of current trends. To analyze current literacy and employment trends in India, highlighting challenges like dropout rates and gender disparity. Policy development. Develop policies that address the educational needs, focusing on reducing dropout rates and bridging the gender gap. Implementation of policies. Execute the developed policies in educational institutions to ensure effective learning and skill development. Evaluation and improvement. Regularly assess the effectiveness of the policies and make necessary adjustments to improve educational outcomes. The National Education Policy 1968. This is a very important education policy of the Government of India which was introduced by the then Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi. This was the first education policy that was introduced after independence. The critical objectives of this policy were free and compulsory education, to fulfill the directive principles of India, to improve the quality of education and provide good salary for teachers. Regional languages should be given importance. The 3-language formula was introduced in the education system. Common education system to reduce inequality. The identification of talents, focus on science and sports. Next up was the National Education Policy of 1986, which laid a solid foundation to the Indian education system and was introduced by the late Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi. This policy was modified in the year 1992. Some of the objectives of this policy were foundation of an Indian education system that emphasized the same educational structure as the previous one of 10 plus 2 plus 3. However, 10 years was further divided into 5 years of primary education, 3 years of upper primary, and 2 years of high school education. The next objective was the promotion of equality. The policy aimed at promoting equality in education, ensuring that marginalized groups such as women, SCs, STs, minorities and disabled individuals received support. Women empowerment. A significant focus was placed on women empowerment with initiatives designed to enhance educational access and opportunities for girls and women. Non-formal education. The NEP emphasized the importance of non-formal education for dropouts, aiming to provide alternative educational pathways for those outside the formal system. Vocational education. Vocational education was introduced for students from class 8, promoting skills development and career readiness at an earlier stage. Open university system. The policy highlighted the importance of open universities to broaden access to education, supporting lifelong learning and flexibility in educational pursuits. Let us take a quick look at the New Education Policy 2020 one more time. It focuses on 5 crucial pillars: access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. aiming to create a robust educational framework. The NEP 2020 introduces a new educational structure, a 5+3+3+4 system that encompasses a foundational stage, preparatory stage, middle stage, and secondary stage. Emphasis on multilingualism. The policy emphasizes multilingualism by promoting the mother tongue or local language as the medium of instruction until at least grade 5, fostering cultural preservation and inclusivity. Personalized learning paths. The NEP 2020 allows children to choose their educational path based on skills, knowledge, and societal interests, fostering a more personalized and relevant learning experience. India faced significant challenges in all sectors due to the COVID-19 pandemic, necessitating new government policies. The draft National Education Policy was circulated in 2019 and approved for implementation in 2020 by Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. The policy is based on recommendations by Dr. Kasturi Ranjan, aiming to establish a modern, robust education system in India. Its central vision is to create a global standard education system in India, aligning with international benchmarks. The policy focuses on 5 pillars: access, equity, quality, affordability, and accountability. The National Education Policy reflects the vision of the current government to improve education quality and accessibility. This policy emphasizes allowing children to choose their educational path based on their skills, knowledge, and societal interests. It adopts a new structure for education, breaking it into stages. Students are given the freedom to choose their subjects at the secondary level, promoting personalized learning. Emphasizes teaching in the mother tongue or local language until at least the 5th standard. Focus on recruiting teachers based on qualifications, ensuring they meet the necessary educational standards. Encourages the establishment of school complexes and transformation of higher education institutions into multidisciplinary entities. Let us now look at the difference and comparison of the NEP 2020 with the NEP 1986. Let us look at the educational structure and see the difference. Curriculum and pedagogy. While 1986 focused on rote learning and rigid separation between academic streams, 2020 promotes holistic, multidisciplinary education with flexibility in subject choices, encouraging critical thinking and creativity. It emphasizes experiential learning and reduces the emphasis on rote memorization. Vocational education. While 1986 had limited integration of vocational education into the mainstream curriculum, 2020 aims to integrate vocational education from class 6 onwards. Some of the other differences are in language policy. The 1986 policy advocated the 3-language formula, but did not emphasize mother tongue instruction. The policy in 2020 recommends mother tongue or regional language as the medium of instruction up to at least grade 5, promoting multilingualism and cultural preservation. While in 1986 the assessment methods relied heavily on annual examinations with a focus on summative assessment, 2020 introduces regular and formative assessments that are competency-based, aiming to test higher order skills such as analysis and critical thinking. The 1986 policy emphasized teacher training but lacked a standardized framework for quality, while 2020 promotes a 4-year integrated B.Ed degree as the minimum qualification for teachers by 2030, aiming to standardize and enhance teacher education. Inclusivity and equity. In 1986, the policy aimed to address disparities but lacked comprehensive strategies for inclusion, while the policy in 2020 focuses on equitable access to education for all socio-economic groups, including initiatives for disadvantaged regions and groups, and promotes gender sensitivity. There was limited focus on the use of technology in education during the 1986 policy, but in 2020 it emphasized the use of technology in teaching, learning and administration, including the creation of digital infrastructure and online resources. The policy in 1986 featured multiple regulatory bodies overseeing different aspects of education, while in 2020 the policy proposes a single overarching regulator for higher education, excluding medical and legal education, to ensure uniform standards and reduce fragmentation. The 1986 policy did not establish a dedicated body for research, while in 2020 the policy proposes the creation of the National Research Foundation to foster a strong research culture across higher education institutions. Now it's time for a quiz on what we have just learned. Please note down your answers. The correct answers will be shared at the end of the quiz. These are multiple choice questions on India's education policy in comparison to the previous ones. Question 1. Why was the need for an education policy emphasized in India? You can choose from options A, B, C or D. Please note your answer. You will see all the correct answers in the last slide. Question 2. Which of the following was a key feature of the National Education Policy of 1968? Introduction of the 5+3+3+4 education system, focus on only vocational education, implementation of the 3-language formula, or D, exclusion of sports and games from education. Question 3. What significant emphasis did the National Education Policy of 1986 introduce? Options A, B, C, or D? Question 4. What new educational structure was introduced under the NEP 2020? Question 5. What is a major difference in the language policy between NPE 1986 and NEP 2020? Let's now move on to the answers and check if we were correct. Here goes. For question 1, the correct answer was option B, to improve employability and economic growth. The correct answer for question 2 was C, implementation of the 3-language formula. The answer for question 3 was vocational education starting from class 8. Correct answer for question 4 was B, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system. And finally, for question 5, the correct answer was C, NEP 2020 promotes mother tongue instruction till grade 5. This would be a good way for all our learners to assess what they have learned and how much they have understood. Whether we need to do a rerun of this very video or are we good to go. Coming up in the next session is a discussion on accreditation and institutions of excellence, where we will explore their significance in fostering educational quality, driving institutional improvements, and enabling global competitiveness. Thank you for your attention and participation today. We look forward to seeing you all in the next session.